Hey Caroline, can I ask for a mic check from you? Does it sound okay?
Sorry, it's thundering so loud here that I am kind of having a hard time hearing anyways, but I don't think it's on your end really. It's just a kind of a loud experience.
Okay. Anne, can you hear us okay?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I sure can.
Okay.
Perfect. We'll get started with the show.
The CAC Plus meeting, this is our July meeting. We have a great agenda tonight, a lot of talking to do and thinking to do, so we want to get started. I just want to remind you that we do have some values that we have shared, and I'll continue to remind you in each and every meeting that we really want to focus on respect and trust, and really encouraging others to speak and to share their ideas, and also for ourselves to be open to hearing new ideas. Openness and transparency obviously is critical. And we all understand that we're a community that faces many realities, some of them hard, some of them easier, and that we strive for partnership. And that really comes out of collaboration and cooperation. And these are values that you developed as the CAC, and will continue to share them and live to them as we go through all of our meetings in the months to come. So I wanted to just give a moment for the Francisco to talk about the translation. I'm sorry, interpretation.
Welcome everyone. Happy to announce, as always, these meetings are bilingual. For those of you who prefer to listen to the meeting in Spanish or participate in the meeting in Spanish, you can do so. You can click on the interpretation globe and select the language of your choice. Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Como siempre, estas reuniones son bilingües y nos place ofrecer el servicio de interpretación. Para poder aprovechar eso, si pueden seleccionar el globito de la interpretación, pulsar en el globo y seleccionar el idioma de su preferencia. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. So the agenda today, as we wait for more people to come on, is one that's up on your screen now. We're going to have a summer icebreaker. As we wait for more people to join us, the question, as you can think about it as you go through, is what is your favorite place to go to in the GDS community? We're going to spend a little bit of time on community updates. We want to hear from you all about happenings in the community, and then move to Brad with the CIF update. And then the heart of our meeting will be about talking about the meetings that we had at the end of July in the community, and the feedback, and presenting those to the CAC, and talking to you all about the next steps. And then what's on the horizon, we'll talk a little bit more about our August 2nd and 3rd meeting. We'll introduce that along with Steve and Anthony. So as we move around the table, and some of us here are enjoying enchiladas, I'm sorry, tamales. I need to get my food right. I'm wondering what your favorite place is in the GES community, Sarah.
Oh, me first. Hi, I'm Sarah Miley with CSU Spur. My favorite, well, I'm looking right at the 51st Avenue Bridge, and I was just talking to some folks about it, and it's like one of my favorite new additions to GS community. I think it's an appreciated piece of art in the Denver area. I want to get more people out to see it. So
Great. Joe Henry, what's your favorite, there you go, putting your head down is not gonna make it up.
There's somebody to choose from. It's an aeroport.
Ooh, I like it. Sandra? Do I have to choose one? You can choose many if you like.
give us a list.
Well, I don't know, I like many places in the three neighborhoods. I like the parks, I like the rec center, I like the library. I like CSU Square, the new building. I like being here. Yeah, I'm always everywhere, so. I like the neighborhoods, I like the people, I like the houses, I like it. Thank you.
Want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Anna Varela. I don't know exactly actually now I am what I'm here as anymore. I live in Elyria. I work for GES Coalition and Tierra Colectiva, but also with the GES Health Study with Sandra and others. And so just really involved. There's so much overlap here. Oh, and Brad, myself, and Sandra got to be on, and others got to be on the transitional committee together. So just really involved in this project now. And my favorite place, that is a good one. It's gonna have to be, and so you're gonna tell that I don't have any kids. It's gonna be between the saloon and Fort Greene. I mean, I just think that they're so unique. If you wanna travel back in time to the Old West, I take people to the saloon. If you wanna go to the cross between modern and like true, like just community without overdoing it, Fort Greene. So I'm gonna have to say our local bars. Fort Greene, ooh, I should take you. It's right here on 44th. It's across from Globe Hall, right across from, a totally different vibe.
Really?
Yes,
Let's go.
it's like a living room. It's great. It has, yeah, next week, see, I was telling you guys, it has old books and old chairs and dim lighting and vintage everything. It's great.
I'm gonna go with you.
Yeah, let's go after this. Rainy weather, it might be great.
Steve?
Hi everyone, I'm Steve Alley. I work with Brad and General the Authority. My new favorite place, GS, is the new riverfront open space in Elyria.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, Jenna Garcia. I do marketing and communications for the authority. I'm copying Joe, even though I thought of Argo Park before you said it. But I do love Argo Park.
Anthony?
Anthony Aricon, the National Western Center. I think, I'm gonna pick, the new Prodigy Coffee. You know, just seeing, having been to the coffee shop at 40th in Colorado and then just seeing a coffee shop, in Globeville, and every time I'm there, it's full of community. They're meeting, they're having coffee, and it's just great to see that in the community.
Brad?
Hi everybody, Brad Buchanan with the Authority. I'm gonna take a little different tact, and I like the residential blocks. I think that there's some just awesome blocks, the scale and the intimacy and the care. It just feels so like home and welcoming, and there's some really awesome blocks in the neighborhood.
Fernando Pineda with Credit Results. Good afternoon, everybody. Not only my favorite, but I really like Panaderia Emanuel, the same street as Prodigy. And it's been there forever since I was working with Lorraine Granado. I was in Justin and 46. And, I was kept there, and a friend of mine worked many years there doing the bread. So he always texts me when he says like the conchas are ready.
Yeah.
That they have good tamales and stuff, but once in a while I still stop by because it's a good vibe and it's a small neighborhood, but it has good food.
And Anthony, I can't see the folks on this. There you go. How about you, Carolina?
Hi, Hi, so I am Caroline or Carolina, either one is totally fine. I live in Globeville, and my favorite place, ooh, it's a tie between my own home because it's a century house. I love that kind of thing. I really love historic stuff and vintage stuff, and therefore my other favorite is gonna have to be Fort Greene. It's definitely very vintage, and if anybody wants to go there later, let me know. I would love to go there.
Caroline, and before I meet you at Fort Greene, I just want to shout out that your house is also Globeville's original nursery. So I think that's just like another really cool detail.
Yeah, my house was featured a couple issues ago of the GES Gazette because the previous resident here was a really, really cool midwife. And so she was doing a lot of really amazing, excellent service for the community. And I think that is super, super cool. A really awesome bit of history.
I love it.
And
I'm gonna have to say the new Riverfront Park as well, because I have a soft spot in my heart for open space. But I also just want to say I love hearing everybody else's comments. This is like the best question yet. So thank you.
thank you, Anne. Chris.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Well, I don't live in GES, but I live in Clayton. So I want to do a plug for a restaurant there. There's a really wonderful Mexican restaurant called Tres Girasoles, and it's right off of Bruce Randolph, and it's just a really small hole in the wall, but really delicious. They've got their rice and beans down, which is always like the cue for me. And in Globeville, I would say Fort Greene as well. I love Fort Greene.
Chris, will you tell everyone who you are?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Chris Callanan. I'm a community engagement specialist with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. And I am just sitting in on these meetings so that I'm up to date and can hear from everybody. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mike.
Good evening, and I apologize for not being there in person. I will be in the future. Mike Bouchard, Executive Director for the Mayor's Office of the National Western Center. And I'm gonna have to go with Carpio Sanguinetti Park. I was actually just there this morning with some old colleagues from Parks and with Denver 7 News, and it's gonna be amazing. When it comes online, it's gonna be a great addition, a new regional park in a much deserved neighborhood. So that is my current favorite of the day.
Thank you. Alana? You're on mute, Alana. Okay, Marcy?
Hi, I'm Marcy Loughran at the Mayor's Office of the National Western Center, Community and Outreach. And I've got maybe a lot of favorite places, but definitely Argo Park. I think, Brad, what you said, I love those houses along Argo Park, but then also the new Riverfront open space. I feel like sort of a mama bird. I've been chasing geese off of that thing and making sure it's planting and trying to stop buses from parking on that thing until we can get it open for the community. So that one has a special place in my heart, and I am parked.
Slavica.
The Slavica Park with TRL Associates. There are quite a few, from Prodigy Coffee to Birdseed Collective to the Saloon to the tours at National Western to Panderias. Yes, so many great places.
Great. AE, do you want to join in?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So I have no relationship to concepts of favorites, but I really appreciate the multi-listings. Everything is so accessible, but I want to say, just for the depth of it, that Fort Greene has come up a couple times, which I also really like. And just so everybody knows, it changed to Fort Greene. I believe it was the last week in April of 2015. That building used to be a meeting hall for Slovenian residents in the neighborhood. It used to be Portaluca Cafe, used to be the White Owl. People might remember Crash 45. That was the last iteration. And the transition into Fort Greene was one of the first successful collaborations between a business and doing and relating the outside patio there to the neighbors by putting specific agreements. Various neighbors went and put specific agreements around helping with the hours and noise and that kind of thing, so that it have a really good interface with the neighborhood. So that little place represents a lot of the sorts of things that also I appreciate, Anna, you mentioning Caroline's house and the history there. So everywhere you walk, you feel that. That's what I can say.
Thank you, AE. Liliana?
Hi everyone, my name is Liliana Flores Amaro. I am a Swansea resident, as well as a part of the CIF leadership group, and also participated along with Anna and others in the transition process for new mayor Johnston. So I agree with everyone. There's so many favorite places. I would say for me and my family, Swansea Park is a special place. I've been going there since I was a kid. I went to Swansea Elementary and remember going to little field trips and picnics there in the park. And now I get to take my kiddo there to play in the park. So it's a good spot.
Thank you. Miriam? Are you there, Miriam? Alana, do we want to go back? Are you there, Alana? You want to participate? Okay. I invite our guests here to introduce themselves, and we're answering the question, what's your favorite place to go in the community? That's a hard question.
I know.
Tell us who you are.
My name's Rhonda Rispoli. I came to the last meeting. I heard it. Gee, in the neighborhood. Really, I mean, Swansea, I grew up there, so I mean, it's just home, and I don't go to church there. I went to school there, of course, but there's the little store, maybe once every 2 months, the little tiny neighborhood store. I might go buy, you know, a $4 gallon of milk or something, $4 to $5. But really, I can't think of a favorite place in the neighborhood. You know, one little grocery store on the other side of I-70, no, on the other side of the park, south side of the park, the one that has that awkward walkway. No, it's right across from the park.
It is Tepetate.
That's my favorite place. That's about it. And I've lived there forever, so.
Thank you. Home is your favorite place.
Well, yeah, I mean, I go to other places, like, you know, I go shopping and, you know, I do a lot, but not really in the neighborhood. There's enough, you know, take the grandkids to the park.
I'm Trudy Ramirez. I grew up in Swansea and I left it in about 17.
Your favorite place in the neighborhood?
My favorite place, I don't have one. I just I didn't like it. Too blue.
Okay. Well, we learned a little bit about each other and learned a little bit more about places we didn't know about in Swansea, Elyria, and Groveville. And now let's take a moment to do some community updates. And I think, Liliana, you wanted to do an update. Liliana?
Hi there, sorry. I do have to run soon, so I just wanted to provide a little bit a couple of the CIF updates ahead of when Brad was scheduled to give those. So we have, and other folks that are on, I'm not sure who else is here from CIF, and Brad, feel free to jump in too. We have set the contract to receive the $80,000 plus, I believe 86,000 that is transferred to CIF. That was part of recent roundup and other efforts on the campus. And so there's a contract for the transfer, and that transfer has happened. So CIF now has those funds. They are not still available yet, but we are working through a process that hopefully a timeline for an application to open up sometime in the fall for folks to begin to apply for that. Those to access those $80,000+. The other couple of things that are also pending are a membership application process that we're hoping to open in the next few months so that we can get more people on board and contribute to further defining that process for the community grant making work. And so there are four of us in the group right now. So those would be Angela, Alfonso Espino, Tony Garcia, and myself. And I think some of you may know, but I'm expecting and due in about 6 weeks or so. And then we'll be out of commission and taking a bit of a break this fall. And so the other thing that we're working on is in addition to getting more people on the leadership board, to getting a paid staff member to help facilitate and continue to move things forward. And so we're working on finalizing a job description with CNDC, who is our fiscal sponsor and who is supporting us in really all the logistical aspects of hiring and getting the applications out and all of that process. So as soon as we have more finalized documents to share, we will definitely make sure that you all have access to that.
Thank you, Liliana.
And I think
Are
that's
there
it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other community updates that happenings in the community that anyone would like to share?
I'd like to do things with CSU Spur, so we are having a community pizza party and movie night on Friday. So families are welcome to come in and make a pizza in our kitchen, in our teaching kitchen, and eat it in our lobby, and we'll have educational activities in our Terra building, the one closest to us, right across the way, related to food and plants. And then we'll be watching the Pixar movie Luca in our Hydro Building Theater. All of that is free and open to the public, and you can find it at csuspur.org on our calendar. So come join us on Friday. And then we have some really exciting second Saturday events coming up soon. So we do those every single month on the second Saturday of the month, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Lots of family-friendly activities. I'm most excited for August. Can I share? Or do you want to? No, you can. Sandra's gonna do a mandala making workshop or a little activity using dried chilies. The theme for the day is all about chilies. So we'll have chili roasting demos in our kitchen. You can learn about growing chilies and research with chilies. And that's August 12th. September is all about rivers, and then the October event is all about innovation and entrepreneurship. So more exciting activities coming there soon. Please join us for our second Saturday. I think it's the best way to get a taste of CSU Spur and start connecting to different programs and offerings. And I'm happy to share more about those in future CAC, but I'm most excited about the second Saturday. So
thank you, Sarah.
Yes. I just realized the one place I do go and love is the farmer's market.
Oh, great.
At Focus Points.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
There was a wonderful article about that in the paper recently.
It's, yeah, but what did it be, you know, I mean, I've lived a lot of places and to come back and have nothing, so it's awesome to have that market. I wish more people would go, but anyway, that's a good one.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, I think Chris first and then.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, Chris.
Yeah, just another community update. For those of you who don't know me through my work through the department, I manage what we call a community advisory group, or CAG, for the Washington area. And Dottie has about 7 to 8 kind of infrastructure projects that'll be slated for implementation beginning next year. And tomorrow in the park, in Argo Park, near the rec center, the swimming pool entrance, we'll have project managers from all of those different projects there for one-on-one, updates and questions that community might have. So that's from 5 to 6:30 p.m. tomorrow at Argo Park. So just one update. And then tomorrow at the Huerta Farmers Market, there will be a table from our green infrastructure group. So the group that really works on stormwater drainage and in all of the river work. They'll be tabling that event tomorrow afternoon. So if you see them, feel free to stop by and ask any questions. But those are just 2 kind of immediate ways that Dottie will be in community here in the next week or so.
Thanks, Chris.
Friday on that farmer's market.
It's Friday.
Friday, sorry about that.
I think Monday has to be Friday too.
Any other community updates? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to remind you all that some of the things that our team is doing, Credit Results, is supporting, letting people know about what is happening. So one of the things that's happening, we're doing about 3 canvassing events a month. So if you have a flyer, like I got your flyer, so we got that one already, that we've been telling people about what's going on. And if you need that, I think the easiest way is to just talk to Gina or Anthony directly. And we can always carry one more piece of paper, right? So I think it's one of those things that we do a lot of intercepts and we do a lot of door knocking. So sometimes even when people are not available or there, sometimes we leave some materials. We will try to be very cautious about not leave a lot of papers in the door, right? But the whole idea is to connect. So if you have anything, just send it to us, and then they'll funnel it to us and approve it or whatever needs to happen. I'm happy to tell more. And we also go to a lot of events, like we've been the farmers market, the food distribution with Focus Points, the ice cream social with Swansea Rec Center. And we're also at the free pizza movie with the sport. And also there's all the opportunities, like I got a contact with 365 Health. I don't know if you know about that organization, but they do health first. So they actually contacted us to see if there was an interest to do one in the autumn, they say. They didn't say specifically where, but sometimes those are quite intense. Sometimes they're not that intense. It's just because sometimes they have already the staff and the opportunity to provide everything from immunizations to other things. So those kind of things, if you have a wish, a desire, or an event, we're happy to just tell more people about it. So contact Anthony, and then he will tell us how we can go about it.
Thank you.
And Miriam Garcia is at the call. She's a member of our team, but she apologized. Her microphone's not working, so I thought she couldn't.
Okay, thanks, Miriam. Thanks for the number. Caroline. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, Caroline.
Hi. So for those of you who don't know, I'm also on the board for Tepeyac Community Health Center. They just have a new building that has opened up in Elyria, and they will be having on September 9th a grand opening block party kind of event. So that's, nice and close over to the National Western Center. For anyone who lives in Elyria, you can walk right over. Louisville and Swansea, maybe catch a little ride because the walk is a little bit far in this kind of summer heat. But keep that on your radar. It's going to be lots of fun. And then looking forward into October, on October 5th, there is a big fundraiser event for Tepeyac as well, the Fiesta on the Plaza. So I know we're still kind of a ways out from that, and I'll leave that just the briefest blip on everyone's radar. But if you're interested, I will certainly have more info to share about that in the coming future.
Thank you. Any other updates?
What time for the block party, Carol?
The block party is going to start at 1 p.m.
I have another block party to add, and I think I haven't heard this one announced as well, so there's two more block parties on August 12th. Swansea Rec Center is having their block party from 12 to 4, and the GES Coalition is having their block party from 12 to 4 at Valdez Perry Library. So same thing, it's like, we were talking a little bit about transportation needs on the second Saturdays, where you can go to CSU Spur and have 3 events there. You can then transfer over to the library, and then you can finish over at Swansea Rec Center. August 12th. Oh, and August 12th is also the backpack distribution for Birdseed. So if you know anyone that needs, there's backpack distributions on August 5th at Swansea Rec Center. That's a Saturday, and August 12th, the following Saturday, at Birdseed Collective.
Right. Wow. Lots of block parties. Lots of fun.
We're a celebratory group.
That's great. I love it. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask Brad updates from the NWCA.
I'm really glad Liliana was here because she did a perfect job of updating the CIF. She's closer to it than we are, so I have nothing to add to her report.
Okay. So I think that leads us to the big portion of our meeting tonight. And as you know, that last month, the end of the month, I think almost all of you were there. We held 2 meetings in the community about the Equestrian Center Hotel property and also the Cup North property, and gathered a lot of ideas. And Steve Nally's gonna talk to us about sort of bringing all those ideas together and report out to the CAC what he's found, and then also talk about the next steps. So I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
Great, thank you, Catherine. Hi, everyone. Steve Nally with the authority. This slide, there are a lot of acronyms. I apologize, but the EQC stands for Equestrian Center. Hotel and Garage is one project. And then the CUP, the CUP, that is the Central Utility Plant. And the N stands for North, which is another site on the campus, which is just north of the Central Utility Plant. Here is a map of those 2 real estate opportunities towards the northern part of the map, in this kind of clay, dark clay terracotta color, and the dashed line. That is the Equestrian Center Hotel Garage opportunity. And then if we look towards the southern part of the campus, you see a much smaller site in the dash line. That is the Central Utility Plant North, or Cup North opportunity. These are 2 different opportunities, and we are going out to the market and procuring help to develop these 2 sites. And so we went through some visioning sessions. You guys have seen this slide before, kind of the steps that we are going through with the community to inform the request for proposals, which is what we're going out to the market to do. That's what RFP stands for. So we held the first meetings in June. There was a meeting in Elyria at Swansea. There was a meeting in Globeville. We're here tonight to recap those community visioning sessions, discuss a little bit about what we heard. By the way, we got 275 ideas. I'm not going to list all of them. We had to roll it up somehow, some way. Begin to prioritize some of the more project-specific ideas. And then we have, Anthony will lead a little discussion on the selection committee. And that's a committee that is reviewing the proposals as they come in and scoring them and helping to make a selection for the authority. And then we'll discuss a little bit about next steps. As you can see, the rest of the continuum, we have public meetings coming up next week on the 2nd and 3rd. And then we will come back to the CAC Plus at the end of August to kind of recap a lot of these. I'll get into the details there, but you can kind of see the continuum on the slide. Okay, so there were two focused sessions at each public meeting. So there's a focused session on the Equestrian Center Hotel and Garage, and a focused session on the Cup North opportunity. And just to be clear, the Cup North opportunity is a parking garage, and we're asking, kind of what else it can be as well. These are the questions that were asked in each of those sessions. What types of activation would you like to see? How would you design these spaces to be most relevant to the community? Just reading the slide here. What does the community need that these spaces can help address? And how might these uses further support the community investment funds beyond what is already required? And I mentioned the already required. We have baseline requirements already, and here is a list of them. The framework agreement, which established the authority and sets our rules, requires us to achieve an overall benefit to the National Western Center campus, to meet the mission and vision established in that framework agreement. These procurements have to be competitive. So we can't just go out and hire our friend. We're subject to pretty tight rules here, similar to the rules that the city is subject to. We have to pay prevailing wage on construction and a living wage. There's a public art requirement for these projects. 1% of the construction budget must be dedicated to public art. That's how there is art on our campus today. That's how CSU has art on its buildings as well. There's a small business, equal opportunity, minority and women business enterprise participation requirements. And any retail component requires ask for a roundup to the community investment fund. So any point of sale, we have to require that vendor to ask if the person would like to round up to the CIF. So I just wanted to make sure everyone's aware of these baseline requirements. A lot of the ideas that we received in the community envisioning session are already being required. We're already doing those. Now, there are certainly some tweaks around the type of public art people would like to see. So there's a next level of detail we can discuss, but just baseline requirements already exist. Here are 4 images we actually had 16 boards with Post-its. These are all the ideas. We have photos of all of these boards, and our plan is to include every comment we received as an appendix to these requests for proposals. So the community will see the proposers will see everything the community said, all of the comments. We're not sorting them in any way. We're just saying, here's what we heard from the community, so that there's a clear understanding of the context and all the comments received. Okay, so we had 275 ideas. This is our spreadsheet. They're all here, and we're gonna read through them now. Just kidding. Again, this will be required, this will be included in the request for proposal, so that the context is there. Every comment we received. We're not sorting these in any way or trying to create certain buckets, if you will. It's just all the comments will be available. So in summary, so I'm not reading every single one of these.
That's the list that was sent out to Steve, right?
I'm sorry, yes.
Not in that format, it was a document that.
Yeah, it was a Word document.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's sent to this whole group.
Yes.
And it's posted on our website. And the links are from each meeting. So you can see all the comments. They're color coded from which the Global or the Elyria and Swansea meetings. Okay, so in summary, we rolled this up. What we heard, there were 3 themes, or if you will, kind of levels of focus or zoom into the campus. We had zoomed into the actual sites that I highlighted in the map. We had a lot of comments related to the campus itself, and then a lot of comments related to the needs across the neighborhood. So within the walls or the site of the Equestrian Center Hotel Park Garage or the Cup North site, a lot of ideas around the design of those facilities. for the Equestrian Center Hotel, parking garage, trendy, modern, lots of windows, specifics like that. A roof garden, ideas around the types of materials used in construction. So, a ton of ideas on design, a lot of ideas on community space, that the community wants its own space to use. And there were probably 100 ideas, I don't have the number, around the types of uses in that space that the community would use. Things like daycare, video game center, training center, grant writing resource center, a place where the community can decide what it is. A lot of comments around that. There's also a use component, and we heard more of this at the Equestrian Center Hotel, but we want to use the meeting spaces that are already provided, or we want to use the large kitchen that will be in the hotel. Public art comments, jobs, and then CIF, Community Investment Fund, sources, different ideas on how to fund that with more money, as opposed to just the roundup that's required as baseline. Some campus-wide ideas, generally more community engagement, better connectivity into the campus and across the campus. A lot of ideas around a circulator or connector within the campus and then also out to the community. A lot of ideas around sustainability and reducing pollution, solar gardens, things of that nature. Education ideas. Some of the ideas that we heard, actually you're doing next Saturday. Probably have the day wrong, but a lot of program ideas of using the kitchen, programs for kids, programs for special needs kids, and folks, community activities, events, programs. So we had the idea of, how you doing, Councilman?
Hey, how are you doing? I'm good here.
Good. A number of program ideas, like a zoo, or a skating rink, things like that. And while a parking garage, you could probably skate in the parking garage, there may be better opportunities on campus. For example, the Stockyards Event Center has a very large room where there could be a pop-up skating rink. So there are ways to do this elsewhere on campus. And then, of course, we had a number of community needs across the campus: public infrastructure, sidewalk, curb and gutter, better lighting, reducing pollution. The other side of the CIF, how to use the CIF money. Rec centers, a large full-service grocery store, large rec centers, swimming pool, bowling alleys, things like that were also mentioned. So our approach here is that we want to focus, of course, on the project-specific items, because that's what we're going out and procuring, that's what we're focused on. But we're not losing sight of these campus-wide ideas. A lot of these things can happen on our campus today and in different venues that exist out here. And then the community needs across the campus. We want to be an advocate for the community. We want to partner with the community and do our best to support you in the needs of what is needed out there. I worked on years ago, I've been working in these communities. I understand the needs there, especially around sidewalks and getting places it's not easy. And access to healthy food, especially a full service food store where you can buy diapers and healthy food and things of that nature. So that's kind of a rolled up summary of what we heard. Yeah, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for typing all of this up, because we looked at it at CSU Square too, and having a lot of infrastructure to be responsive to some of the education requests right away. So we're processing it. We're thinking about how we're marketing existing events that already speak to some of the needs that were reflected in there. And I'll continue to be here to report back on that too, but.
Yes.
I just thought of one thing I didn't think of last meeting. Don't mean negative, but what about a cop shop?
Cop shop for safety.
And education for visitors and whatever, but seriously, a satellite District 2 or 1, I don't know, this is District 2 still?
Well, we're kind of split actually
Yeah, we're
between
split.
two
Okay.
districts. So we have,
Wow, just to make it interesting.
yes, yes, we have relationships with both.
Mhm.
You had a question?
We offer cop shops at our property free and no one took us up on it, like the last 6 months and it's for, so we have space available. No one would be interested in that.
When you say no one was interested, was that?
Like the city.
Police department wasn't interested. Well, Anthony wrote it down, so.
Sure did.
Good relationship builder.
Which would be right over the bridge. It's right down there, right at the end of 51st.
Which one is your facility? I'm sorry.
510 East 51st Avenue. We have extra space and when we're having lots of issues, we offer them up. Hey, we have office space or whatever you need, I'll give it to you for free. And if it's a budget thing, I don't know about it. And we talked to literally everyone, except Hancock.
Yeah, with the opening of the riverfront open space
Yeah.
and the new connections, we have been calling both districts, and trying to establish a relationship, and they are encouraging us to call them. If there's a problem, call them more often. It helps them with more resources.
We call all of them.
If everyone needs to be calling them. If you see something, call them. If you see something and ignore it, they never find out about it. They get fewer resources. That's what they've been telling us, so. Okay, so we will collectively, I want to do this tonight with you all around some of these ideas, and this is what we will work on at the August public meetings next week is to begin to prioritize some of the project specific ideas. And they're very similar ideas for both project sites, but you can see the highest priority based on frequency that we've heard these ideas. For Cut North, community space, I already talked about that, design quality of the parking garage itself and what could go on top of the garage or in front of the garage, revenue sources, reduce community rates for parking in the garage. And there were, again, several ideas around things that we're already going to be doing or already required to do. The same goes for hotel. The big difference there is that there's not only a need for community space, but also using some of the spaces that will be built associated with the equestrian center and with the hotel itself. So any thoughts on the priorities? You all have hopefully have seen these comments. I know you mentioned you've reviewed them, participated in the meetings. Are there things that are standing out as most important? Not that we're only going to do the most important, but try to help us understand what is the most important in the community. Any thoughts on this slide?
Something that stands out, just it's the last word on both of them, and I know it's already a requirement, is all of this would be great, but none of it can be accessed if we can't reach it. So I can't wait for there to be that connecting piece, and I know that's definitely in partnership with the city and everyone else, but that will be thrilling, because even getting from one side of the campus to the other as neighbors, builds a barrier. And so rather than make this a barrier, making it a thoroughfare, opening up those drives, those access points, that will be tremendous. And then getting people to these second Saturday, it's just been fun to work through the Saturday process and go, how do we even get neighbors to these events? So it will be great to see how the room comes together for that.
Caroline.
Yes, I see. I've just, if the folks who are zooming into the meeting, if you raise your hands, then we'll know if you have a comment. And I think Caroline, you have a comment.
Yes, I do. I love the raise hand feature because otherwise I just start talking over people by mistake. So for me, as a community member, I really want to focus on sustainability, not just sustainable construction materials or anything, but also sustainability long-term for things that are built. So for example, with the pandemic, I mean, it's not really over yet. I just had one of my friends caught COVID 2 days ago. So it's definitely still around. And I'm very concerned about the construction of a large scale hotel and how that might, if we have, another pandemic come around, if we have another surge come around, how that might kind of have to sit there empty, and then in the end of the day, it's not really serving the community or, you know, even people outside the community, versus something that is maybe more small scale, maybe more boutique, maybe more sustainably focused, to where during a pandemic it could still have other uses, or at least be scaled down enough that it won't be something that has to shut down entirely like so many large scale operations did in 2020. And just, you know, going forward, I want to be sure that we're prioritizing things that, not only things that can go right, because I know that's very important. We always want to think about what can go right, but also what can go wrong, especially in terms of what did just go wrong so badly for so many people. And just being sure that we are planning for things like that and don't, you know, end up getting in over our head with something that ultimately doesn't pan out very well.
So when you say sustainability, you're talking about environmental sustainability, but you're also talking about resiliency or flexibility or the adaptability of these things that we're building. So
yeah, sustainability in so many different ways. So definitely the sustainable construction, you know, in the literal terms, but then also the economic sustainability of something in, you know, this modern world where things don't always go so right for us.
Other ideas?
Other ideas or comments? I will say jobs. Because every time we have a new project coming to the community, they offer jobs, but I mean, it's annoying when they say it's just for housekeeping, for construction work. I mean, why can the community do better jobs than housekeeping and construction or janitorial? I mean, I think we really have to work with the community on what the community wants and offer better jobs than this. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I worked since I was 8 in housekeeping, but I mean, just having better jobs for the community and offer those jobs for the community. With the I-70 project, we saw that they were gonna offer jobs for the community, and there was only like 5 people working on the I-70 project. So we really commit to that, to giving those jobs. I'm not saying all the jobs to the community, probably they don't need it, they already have jobs, but really offering better jobs to the community.
And I don't wanna, I remember reading that very comment, that was mentioned several times, that it's not just the low paying jobs, but it's the, you know, who's running the hotel, who's the operations manager, those kind of higher paying jobs. And apprentice and train programs so that folks in the community are able to learn about even the procurement of this and be involved in that perspective. So I put it under already required, but just for summary perspective, that comment hasn't been lost. And I think it's something that we've talked a lot about with the equestrian hotel parking garage project, with partnering with Metro State and CSU's hospitality program, which I think there's a success story. I think it's Spring Hill Suites on the Aurora campus as a learning hotel, where the Metro State students are learning every job, not just the low paying jobs, and participating in that program. We anticipate doing the exact same thing here with this hotel. Certainly open to other ideas on you know, job fairs, and we could think about how we work with the hotel operators so that they are reaching out to the community when there are job openings.
So, good question. So if you covered this before, so this could be a flag hotel ultimately, is that, just don't know yet?
We don't know yet. We have held some kind of industry feedback sessions. We're getting feedback from the community and from industry, and it could be that this place is so unique that it doesn't need the flag. Could be some flag, meaning like, you know, a big brand that we would all recognize. Very there are a lot of reservations that come with the flag, you know, so there could be some soft branding where we're getting access to reservations. But this is so unique that it could be boutique. It could be one of a kind.
I think Angela has a comment. Angela?
Angela always has a comment. You already know that.
I know that.
So to support what Sandra is saying, and I brought this up in previous meetings, but I don't want it to get lost, is I appreciate the fact that students from MSU are going to be learning these things, but the reality is, we don't know how many residents there are in GES who attend Metro State. We don't have a whole lot of money. Yes, there are scholarships, etc., but many of us don't know about it to be able to go to MSU. Thankfully, CSU, has offered scholarships to us. However, if there could be an apprenticeship also for GES residents to learn alongside of the MSU students. We have a lot of brilliant, wonderful minds in GES who are willing to learn. And as Sandra said, we can do the cleaning and the cooking very, very well, but we can do other things very, very well. So just to be able to keep maybe an apprenticeship in mind for GES residents to work alongside these students from Metro State. Keep that in mind for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Other comments?
Also, the Spring Hill Suites, they also have a program where they have employees that are disabled that come to work with a job coach. And, it would really be great if they had, a program like that. I work for Laredon, so I'm a cheerleader for the IDD community.
It's a great idea.
That's good.
Are you gonna talk a little bit after this around, checkpoints that, for example, as these different pieces get research discovered, saying to the point, let's say jobs, we've brought that up a few times. When the job opportunities come to market, come to fruition, where are those checkpoints? Will they be through those community kind of meetings? Is there a way to have like a dashboard of some kind to see progress on different areas? And I'm thinking as well a little bit about funding, because I think, while things were reallocated, I also wonder how things can be the most efficient possible, so that, yes, the resources reach as many of the needs possible, including community serving all the way through, so just kind of, maybe you talk about it a little later in the presentation, but where is the transparency piece for check-in, or will it be CAC meetings where that's the best place to tell neighbors, if you want to hear that update, it's a CAC meeting?
I don't have the answer. I think it's a good idea and something that needs to be discussed, especially as we move forward in our jobs that are becoming available, and how do we disseminate that information is something that we're open to. Of course, we can talk about it here, but this is a small group.
No, of course, yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if it was gonna be talked about, so just throwing it out there.
That's an interesting point, and as the RFP gets developed, is really talking about that accountability factor.
Okay, more to come on this. We're meeting more on this. I do want Anthony to give Anthony a second to talk about the selection committee members or both of you.
Sure, okay. So, as mentioned, we are going to be sending out to market 2 requests for proposals. The timeline is approximately sometime this fall, likely in September. So the timing is approaching quickly. So our idea that I wanted to present to all of you tonight was, as we have done with the other procurement processes to date on the campus, which included land snow removal, landscaping, and concessions. There will be a selection committee that gets created, and we do ask that a community member join the selection committee to review the RFPs. But I think because of the importance of these two RFPs, our idea is for the community members, the composition would include 1 community member of the authority board of directors. So Caroline and Sandra would each serve on one of the RFP selection committees as community members for the board of directors. And then we want to invite another member of the CAC Plus to also join the selection committee. And you'll be reviewing the community components of the RFP. I mean, you'll be reviewing the entire RFP, but really specifically where your input, is really going to be critical in the process is in reviewing the community component of the RFP. So I'm going to send a follow-up email later this week to the CAC Plus. It will include a short one-pager on the roles and responsibilities to become a selection committee member. You will need to sign a non-disclosure agreement once the RFP goes out to market. The importance of confidentiality as you're reviewing all of the proposals is really critical. And so an NDA non-disclosure agreement is needed. It'll also include the time commitment. There will be several meetings with the selection committee over the months, the fall months, to review however many proposals we receive. And for each meeting that is hosted or is held with the selection committee, we will make sure that a stipend is provided to the community members for your time. So if you're interested, we're gonna just put a 1-week deadline on that. So if we could hear back from you of your interest by next Friday, August the 4th, because we want to have those 4 community members identified by the end of August.
That's Anthony Aragon.
Oh, yeah.
To email, sorry, I just threw.
Oh, Anthony Aragon, yeah. It could be a different Anthony. Any questions related to that idea?
I would like to add that while we're moving towards the selection process or in review of the RFPs, the important thing to remember is that we still have 2 more meetings in the community. So we're still seeking that feedback, even as we're preparing for the results of all of that and the final CAC meeting at the end of August. So this is not going to precede that, but we want to get it in place so that by the time we do 2 more community meetings and the CAC meeting at the end of August, we'll be ready to then work with Steve or you all will be ready to work with Steve on the RFP and the selection process. So this is sort of anticipating that, but we wanted to get it in place prior to that time.
And just to be clear, only the selection committee members have to sign the NDA. Not everybody.
Steve, may I
Yes.
ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Process, and my name is Darrell Watson. I'm the city council member for City Council District 9, inclusive of National Western. And my question was on the community input that's already been received and that will be received in 2 consecutive meetings. Where is that input housed, and has it been the practice to share some of that with the council office? And if there's an ask from me, I'm putting it out. I would love to see community input and would love to be able to have a little bit of visibility as to what community are thinking. So number 1, has council received that information? If not, I would be very much interested in seeing, unless there's and it's up to this team to decide, but so that my office can provide support, we would love to be able to see and engage in any of that process.
Yes, I'm not sure, Anthony, if you emailed it.
Yes.
Directly to.
I think it was included because you're new. You've only been in the office for a week. I think that I've sent you a few emails that are probably have not received yet, possibly. But with the agenda at the bottom of that was the website information, which is where all of the 275 ideas live. As Steve mentioned earlier, all of those comments will be included in the final RFP. So any person that applies to the RFP process will be able to review all of the community comments.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
When we send out to the whole group, sort of the information about the report on this meeting, we'll include that information again, so it's top of mind, so.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I think KE had a comment. Unless you wanted to read. Was your comment? Okay.
I just have one more slide. Hey, if you want to wait, so I can go through these steps or go ahead.
We can come back. I just want to go a little deeper on the NDA. But you can do it now, or we can do it later.
Let me wrap up and then we can come back to that.
Okay.
So next steps
Perfect.
Again, we've said this several times, that we're including all these ideas in the RFPs that will be out, on the street. We are gonna continue to prioritize the project-specific ideas at the 2 public meetings coming up. August 2nd is Globe Hall, right? August 3rd is Johnson Rec Center, correct? We will come back to CAC in August, discuss these prioritized ideas and get into more specifics of those ideas, individual ideas, as opposed to these broader themes, categories. We need to finalize the community representatives on the selection committee prior to issuing the RFP, meaning putting it out, for proposers to respond to. And the reason for that is we want the selection committee members to read the RFP and provide some comments before we issue it. And then our issue date is, we are really shooting for September. I really don't want us to sneak into October, but I put it up there, put a little breathing room on this, so. AE, what's your question about the NDA?
Can you go back to that slide? Is that doable? I just wanted you can probably comment on this, Steve, to take the opportunity to differentiate between this type of NDA and the NDA that was signed by the participants in the transitional forums, because there's been a lot of discussion out in the communities regarding what that sounds like they're closing down the process. And I think it's important to make a distinction that in a acquisition process, you have a competitive process with people that are coming in with bids. And so it would be good to help us all have that knowledge. Acquisitions is a little bit different, and there's reasons that the confidentiality has to be in place in order for all of the people that respond to the RFP to have the same level of information. And by the way, just one note, and I don't know if it's the same, the first times that the National Western Center Citizens Advisory Committee had people participating on these things, there were some restrictions that were anybody that was on the National Western Center Citizens Advisory Committee had to avoid certain types of conversations with folks that had responded to the RFP, not just the folks, the individual, I think it was Tangier Barnes, that were on one of them, but I think that there's more, a little bit more of a scope of how that has to be handled. So I think the awareness of that should be kind of put on the table coming forward from the beginning. And that the roles and responsibilities, I think from when people are wanting to become part of that, to say right now, and for people to talk a little bit right now, what they see those are, I feel like a very primary one is to be able to help develop a broad sense of what folks would like the criteria to be, even going into writing that RFP. And it's not just a full set of bullets. There's all kinds of things that can be discussed in that. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that this NDA, first of all, was made distinct from a variety of other types of things that are out there. And can you talk about that a little bit, Steve, or someone else?
Sure, and I'm not familiar with the NDAs that you're discussing for the transition committees, but the intent of this non-disclosure agreement is for confidentiality of the selection committee member to uphold the competitive nature of the process. It has to be competitive. If information is shared and if one team gets an advantage over another, then we've kind of ruined the competitive nature of the process and we would need to start over. It is very critical. I mean, there are entities that are bringing proprietary ideas and are trying to differentiate themselves from other teams. And if they're sharing, or if there's a leak of information out there, then we've really kind of blown the competitive nature. Again, we are required to have a competitive process. And if it's not competitive, then we are in violation of our agreement, and it is a big deal.
A very big deal.
Very big deal. Yeah. So anything you want to add on that?
No, I think you said it perfect.
Does that answer your question, AE?
Yes, sorry, I had my, yes, it does. I have my microphone off there. Yeah, it does, and maybe a little more detail can be filled out as we go forward, but that puts the framework out there.
Great. That concludes my presentation. Happy to discuss next steps with you all if you have ideas or pointers for us at these upcoming public meetings, anything that you guys want to make sure we get across or information.
We had a really good turnout. I think we had over 30 people between the two meetings. And so if you can encourage others to come, I think the more input we have into that, the more helpful it will be to Steve and Brad as they develop the RFP. Certainly as we narrow down to the priorities, that's going to be a really important part of it. So please encourage. I hope you'll come back to those meetings as well as I encourage others to attend. And they were very, very helpful in just really helping to identify those priorities and also just begin to, I see other issues that were coming up within the community. And I know we've talked about them, but now we have them down on paper. A lot of really good ideas about how to improve not only the campus, but also issues where the authority can help to be a partner and a collaborator on issues that may not be directly on the campus, but are really around and surrounding this community that that maybe another partner would be helpful with. So
I'll speak to that really quick. I think that's the only thing that I also look forward to is more presence, because while there maybe were that many people across the two, there were a lot of the same faces, and I'm really excited about trying to get this conversation in front of new faces. So I would also make that ask. And like, I'm not saying that maybe it's important to count, even though we have 275 comments, like how many of those comments came from different new voices, because I think that's a big part of it. You know, I hear, I don't want to, speak for other community representatives here, but there's always this question of how many households are here and how often have they been surveyed and questioned and those kinds of things, and how can we get that real engagement around these topics, especially around something that, again, this is part of the neighborhood, right? This isn't an entity apart. This isn't something separate. This is between and part of and intertwined and everything. And so I'm doing my very best to try to reach out and find new people. So I think, and not to say that the people we've already heard from is not valuable. It's part of the conversation. But what I don't want to happen is for all this work to go in, we develop these great ideas, and then community says, sorry, we were not part of that conversation. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it's super imperative that in addition to like the work of trying to get the work out there, is considering what if the next time we have input, what if we have those same voices? Is there a possibility of saying that wasn't enough? I do just want to put that out there of saying, what is the parameter for that was enough community input? If it is 30 voices across, that's fine, but I think we should just be honest about what that is. That way, when there is a future, we can say, hey, these were the dates, this was the availability, this was the efforts made, social media, flyering, etc. And we didn't get the output. And that's okay to say too, but I just think that when we go forward to say, yes, we had community input when we had, let's say maybe 35, 60 people at the end of this process, we should feel more proud at a different number, I think. That's my personal feeling. I'd love to hear from other neighbors if I'm just feeling this myself. But I just think that it would be awesome for people to get behind this rather than to find out reactively again, so that's what I'm working on. I'm just trying to find the new, the different, the people that aren't always at our table, and really make sure that we got to check in with them as well.
I think it's an excellent point. I think you all are trusted messengers. That's why you're on the CAC, and using your trusted messenger positions to really encourage other people. We work a lot with CREA to make sure that we're knocking on every door, we're handing out information, we're trying to do as much as we can through social media, but your voices as trusted messengers in the community really make a difference. And so I think all of us working together with all of those tools in our toolbox, hopefully we'll get even more people at these next two meetings.
Look at that, we did have, I think, a higher percentage of new faces in those two meetings that we've seen in the past, and I think one of the difference makers was we mailed every household in GES for June 28, 29. We're doing that again for August 2nd and 3rd, because we think. So is that perfect? It's not perfect, because not everybody looks, it's another thing in your mailbox, right? But I do think it did help to make a difference. We are also up for new, more, better, all kind of ideas. We talk about it all the time. And we also want better results. We want more people. We know people are busy and it's hard to come to one more thing. So how can we communicate the opportunity so they can be inspired by this, because there really is opportunity here for community. So I love this discussion and want to keep having it should never end, right? It should all be about more and better.
It was different. I will say that it was insanely different, and I wouldn't be backing it if I didn't think it was a system that would work better. So that's awesome. Thank you, Anna.
If you have ideas, it'd be great to, I mean, just, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
if I
also
knew for
important-
myself, that would-
Yeah, it's important that, like, the CAC plus is but one mechanism, right? And mailing, to all the households in 80216 is another, it's another mechanism, physical flyers at the rec centers, at the libraries, but, a lot of social media as well, but, yeah, it's just, I mean, since I've been here, for the past 4 years, even when I was with the city, it's always been, the numbers are in the 20 to 30 for any community events that we host. And, I wish I would love more, and I will say, when we had the first meeting on the 28th at Johnson Rec Center, and I was like, oh, there's gonna be all these people, and there wasn't. But the great takeaway for me was it wasn't in the number of people that were in the room, it was the number of ideas that were generated in those two community meetings. And the meeting at, interesting enough, the meeting at Lairden, even after flooding the neighborhood, right, and hail and rainstorm, we had more people at the Lairden Hall meeting on Thursday, and new faces. But yeah, I'm always up for other ideas, and we're working with CREA. They're canvassing in different parts of the community 3 or 4 times with the information for the meetings next week. And again, as Brad mentioned, just always open to new ideas. And it doesn't mean that, we send an email out and that's the solution, because it's not. And I certainly don't buy into that mentality. I'm like, what else can we do, or can I do? There's a lot of tabling that's happening in the community. But they take it, and then, but at least they take it, right? That's and they hear about what's happening, and then, but I think just summer too might be a challenge. Who knows? But yeah, always open to ideas.
I think there's a great opportunity to fine tune it, and I think that's what, for example, we are at your service, right? If you think that, hey, we want to know about the hotel and there's a location close to there, right? So you can target the canvassing. Of course, people are gonna be more interested if people like across the street from them, right? The other people are be like, well, yeah, I don't understand what's going on, but that's cool, having a hotel. But people are like, no, it's gonna be right in front of me, right? So I think sometimes that there are opportunities to fine tune the canvassing, right? If there's like an event, some events are amazing, and we know we have to be there because people from the neighborhood is gonna be there. Some are not, right? We do a lot of church outreach, and when we talk to the priest or the pastor, the person in charge, they say, well, a lot of people come from Brighton, because we move here, and of course people follow us. Like, well, we visit them, we let them know if you know somebody, but we don't go there every Sunday, right? So I think we are learning about different things, like, the food market, it's great. Then, like, a lot of people know about it, but they're not from the neighborhood, right? So I think as we specialize, we want to reiterate we're at your service, right? So we said like, hey, we're gonna be at the back to school program for the school, right? At the back to school night, because we know, well, that's where a lot of people from the neighborhood are gonna be. And maybe we get to prioritize, because the bar may be a great place, but now everybody from Denver is coming to the place, right? So I think what I'm trying to say is that, one, we can always carry a different, another flyer, but we also know how difficult it is for people to, oh my God, 20 pieces of paper, right? We do the things like we carry the flyer that is mailed and say, you may receive something like this, like, oh yeah, I didn't read it. It's like, well, let me tell you what it says, right? It says this, and there's a meeting on Friday, right? And there's a meeting on Thursday. So as we are trying, like we have a radio program in Spanish that we do, but of course it goes out into all the way to Colorado Springs, right? So we try to kind of hone it into so many different elements. We use social media. We use unofficial or official, what we want to call it, WhatsApp groups from different people and groups that they don't want to have more people than the ones they want to have, but they do us a favor to please tell your friends about it. And I think there are opportunities that we can always say that, hey, let's start another WhatsApp group, or let's start another Facebook page. Let's start something like this. So we know that people feel bombarded, right? And you just mentioned that there are like 2 competitive events the same day, right? And people are like, seriously? So where we're going with this is that there's no magic formula for community organizing. We know that some of us love coming to meetings, some of us will never want to come to another meeting. But I think sometimes we can get people there. So we have the capacity with iPads and things. So I say, can you just get into this QR code and answer these 2 questions, right? Sometimes we need really people to kind of sit down, and we're trying key informal interviews, which is one-on-ones, right? And say like, hey, who are you? What do you think? What it is? So if you even have people of interest, they say, I don't know them, but I know of this person. Please just like through Anthony or directly through me, like just say like, hey, do you guys know this guy? Because he knows some other people. Those are the things I think we would love to continue to respectfully interrupt their daily living and say, hey, did you know about this? And there's an opportunity for you to weigh in, and all of those things happen. And we don't fear. We go to pot shops, we go to liquor stores, we go to grocery stores, and we go to churches and different things. So crafting the message is important, but inside of the overwhelming, there's always opportunities to have one more person at the table.
Thank you. Let's go to Angela and then Sandra and then AE. So Angela?
Yes, thank you. So I have suggestions. So Fernando, I have to say I live in South Gloville. I haven't received any flyers whatsoever. So, but listening to you talk, one of the things I would suggest is since the meeting is on August 2nd here in South Gloville in Globe Hall, maybe flyer this part of Gloville so that we know that that meeting is happening. And then the meeting on August 3rd is at Johnson Rec Center. Flyer around where Johnson Rec Center is so that people know that that meeting is happening there. That's one idea. The second one is we are lacking in getting our youth voice in. So I would suggest, Anthony, that you maybe talk to Birdseed 5090, Swansea, Johnson Rec Center, to get to talk to the youth, because they live here too. They have a voice. They've heard what their parents and their grandparents have said about the National Western. Find out from them directly what it is they want, because we're saying they want a video game center, that they want a skating rink, etc. That's what we're saying they want. We don't know what they want. They need to be asked what they want. And I think another demographic is that we're missing are the people who have lived here their whole lives, who are more mature than I am, like my neighbors that are in their 70s, and say, hey, you know what, have you lived in GES since, before the highway? You pick a certain amount of years from 1960 to 1970. Did you live here? Do you know anything about the National Western? What would you like? What do you know? What would you like to see happen there? Because a lot of them don't go to meetings because they're frustrated. They don't have good feelings about the National Western because of what they went through in their youth or what their parents or what their grandparents said. So those are my suggestions. Again, go fly around in the areas where you're going to have these meetings just before the meeting so people are aware that it's going to happen. Maybe you'll get more people, maybe you won't. I know I'll see Anna and AE and Sandra. And I also want to say I'm really excited to look in the room and see some new faces. That's always exciting. And that is my comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela.
Thanks, Angela.
Let's go to Sandra.
Yeah, so I just wanted to comment. I think we're all doing a good job in doing the outreach because I also have a list of 3,000 and something from the tree planting projects that I sent a text to in Spanish and English. And I even added that there was gonna be food. But one of the things that it's been happening in the three neighborhoods is that people are exhausted about a lot of meetings, about a lot of promises that they don't want to participate anymore. That's why one of the main things that I've been saying is that we need to gain that trust first, because there's a lot of trust issues. It's not just the National Western, it's everyone that has come to the neighborhood. One of the things that really worked, it was that when people came to the schools or high schools to do those presentations, but we are in summer time, so there's no way that we can do that until with our school again. But we just have to see that people is exhausted, and I'm saying people that's been living here for a long time. I mean, I've been here for 7 years, and sometimes I get exhausted of going to a bunch of meetings. And also when I don't know which project was it. I don't know if it was about the triangle, like 5 years ago. Or, I don't know. They came to the school asking why they wanted to see in the National Westerns, and I don't remember quite well, but it was from the National Center. And people started giving their ideas. Oh, we want to see a center. We want the same things that we see there, and that didn't happen. So that's when that trust issue comes, and that's why people don't want to participate. So I think it's different factors. It's not that we haven't been doing a good job, because I did receive a flyer in my mail, and I also sent those texts. But I feel like we got a good amount of residents that participated. That's all. I felt like because of other meetings that I've been to, we only see the same people. At Johnson's, we saw more than 4 people. I mean, we saw a lot of residents. For me, it was a lot of residents that were participating because I've been in a lot of meetings. Like I said, probably doing those meetings at schools, but schools are closed right now. We can't do that because I've seen that we can do those, and that's because the principal, whoever's there in charge, they invite the families, so that's when we get more outreach and everything. But I feel like we did a good job. It's just how can we do probably a better job? I don't know how, because it depends on the residents, and residents don't want to participate because it's been very exhausting. It's studies, meetings, more studies, meetings, and it's like we get tired of those things. And I'm talking about the people that we've been living here for a long time. I mean, it's very exhausting. So how can we bring them here? We can't. But we have to be really open and transparent with the people that comes here. And that if we're gonna get their ideas, suggestions, we have to respect those. Yeah. Because sometimes we give them, but we don't respect those ideas. So how can we really respect those ideas? Even if it was just 10 residents that came.
One of the things I'd like to add is, and then we'll go to AE, is that the community engagement is incremental, right? And it's really built on that trust issue. So as we build trust and we make the commitments and live up to our commitments, more people are going to come to the meetings. And I think Brad is, and I don't think, I know Brad is absolutely committed that if we say it, it's gonna happen. And so we're very, as we plan for all of these meetings, and he's asked me to help do that, is that we keep checking ourselves. If we said we're going to do this, have we done it? And if we haven't done it, why didn't we do it? And really making sure that every step that we use is one that is open and transparent. And sometimes we have to give you bad news, as we've had in the past, and we have to own up to our mistakes, which we've done in the past. But we'll continue to have that open process. And I would say that over the time that I've been engaged with the meeting, we're seeing more and more people. Now, it may be 2 more people, it may be 4 more people, but in community engagement, you all, as that's why I'm saying, is a trusted messenger. If you trust what this process is, you're gonna tell somebody else that we trust the process. So from our side, even though we have a lot of tools in our toolbox that Fernando described, we have to live up to what we say we're gonna do. And we're really, really focused on that as a team. Here is really, if we say we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. If we can't get it done, we're gonna tell you exactly why we couldn't. And also, we're gonna share the successes with you, because those meetings, those, and we sort of actually counted how many people were new and who weren't. The majority of them were new people. And what we learned is that they're gonna come back to a meeting because they saw that that was an open process. 275 comments are going to be on the RFP. We're not trying to change them. We're not trying to do anything with them. They're in the exact same language as they were written. We don't know who wrote them because we're not trying to do that. But one of the things that I'm trying to do with Brad and his team is make sure that the community engagement process is open and it's authentic and working with the community in real ways. Because this is your community. It's not my community. It's not Brad's community. It's not Anthony's community. This is your community. And we're listening really, really carefully to what you're saying. And if you give us a suggestion, I think many of you will note that we've taken those suggestions to heart. We've changed things, the way that we present to community, the way that we engage with community, the idea to do mailings and make the way to flyer, all of those ideas we take to heart. So I just want to assure you, from my point of view as your facilitator and advisor, is that Brad has directed me to make sure that we're all doing exactly what we promised to do. And so I'm sort of that person on the outside, because I don't live in the community, is saying, are we living up to our promise? And that's what we're committed to, is really living up to that promise. So hopefully over the course of the next meeting and the next year, you're gonna see an increase in the people who participate, because you're gonna wanna come back to a meeting, because there are things that are going on there that involve you, engage you, and you can trust that the information that you're giving and sharing is one that's highly valued.
And maybe a suggestion, I mean, if you guys are going to events and the block parties, or it's gonna be tomorrow doing a table, why not do the activity there with the people that comes there? Doing those questions, doing the sticky note activity there with the community, with the residents that come to those block parties, to the events. I think that'll be also a really good way to get input from the community.
I'm gonna go to AE and then I'll come back to you.
Am I on, Catherine? Oh, okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to put the spotlight back a little bit on how Anna expressed what I think is a value system and understanding what's important as far as measuring the engagement and making sure that it's authentic. And I would like it not to be lost in the discussion that followed. I appreciated that, Anna. I felt you were very much on point. I'm hesitant to enter this conversation here, first of all, because when I hear Anthony say for 4 years he's been engaged and the meetings are pretty much around 30, and it seems to be a pattern, and that's been that's a pretty straightforward, honest observation, and it's true. I feel like we need to look at that. The ideas that people are discussing I appreciate all the neighbors that are continually patient in putting out the list of ideas and things that are basically always what can be done with comprehensive outreach. Comprehensive outreach is an all points notification process, and that's been discussed so many times and in these meetings repetitively. I think that whether the evaluating that people are sincere about outreach, I think is not necessary, because I think probably everyone in the room and everyone that's been engaged is sincere about wanting it to be better. But I feel like while we're saying things that have to do with the mechanics of it, sure, do the mechanics, do the distributions, start publishing the cost benefits of which ones did or didn't work. You can isolate how many people came because of a mailing, how many people came because of flyering. Let's get real transparent and get that honesty. The fact is that I've seen, I think I've been in the Globeville arenas here and in Globeville for about 15 years now. And I have seen the phenomenal gatherings over and over again of hundreds of people across all three of these historic neighborhoods when events were done through word of mouth, texting, and just putting a flyer on every single door without hardly any social media, because the relationships are there. And so, Catherine, when I hear you say we're ambassadors of trust, and if we trust the process, we'll tell people about it. I have been a champion of this project since its germinal period, and I am even with my disappointments and frustrations and disillusionments, I have always encouraged everyone to be involved, and it is consistently that the feedback that I have gotten with people that do not want to participate in the center core of the conversations via the meetings is that the momentum of the implementation is being done in a manner where only when it's necessary is the engagement tacked on. And that's a one way of saying something I've heard in many ways. And I think there's a minimalist sort of thing that needs to be discussed and evaluated that has been characteristic of the engagement culture of the project. And it bears having conversation, and we're constantly coming up against the struggle of how to get a few more. And yes, it's incremental, but this has been 12 years. So I think there's a lot to analyze, break out, and discuss here. And Kriya, with whatever you're doing, great. And I think we can do the measures there too. I'm a little bit skittish myself with the respectfully would feel differently with Anthony when you say that the silver lining was there were 225 ideas and that came, even though there were a few people there. The thing about getting the relationships are the important thing are the relationships among us out in the neighborhoods, working together with people, with each other in these collaborative meetings and everything, and not getting people into them is part of what isn't strengthening the neighborhoods. And so the reasons why people aren't coming is one thing. The reasons why they would come if various things were done different in the relationships between the primaries and the projects and all kinds of things is another discussion. So I feel like having the tactical suggestions continue to be repeated. I also think it's gotten kind of circular in that. And I also feel like, yes, I think it's always great to flyer when there's something that impacts something directly right next door, the meeting's right next door, do that part of the neighborhood. But let's keep flyering the entire neighborhoods. And let's make sure that everyone feels that it's accessible and that they can find entry points to it that maybe are more directly encouraging relationships between the neighbors in the process. So for whatever that's worth, I just feel like there's a lot to discuss, but this is a very familiar conversation.
Thank you, A. Brad?
So I am not trying to derail this conversation at all, but I do want to just pause for 1 second and thank Councilman Watson for attending. He's got to run to another event. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything.
Really quick, Brad and folks, I just want to say thank you so much. It was helpful for me to sit and to listen to community and listen to you kind of work your way through how to make sure more community voices are here. I intend to be here. I'll be at the meeting on the 3rd. And so I'll be here from the beginning. I'm running to the Clayton neighborhood. We just came from the 5 Points neighborhood to come to this, but this matters to me. This community matters to me, and you'll be seeing a lot more of me. So thank you, everyone around the table for, having me here, and I look forward to working with you on this in the future. And however my office can help and support from the city that I can provide to the work that you all are doing with getting the word out, please let me know.
Councilman, do you want to announce and if you shared something on Facebook this morning, do you want to share that with everybody here?
For the mayor's meeting?
No, for your Facebook page that you just launched this morning.
Well, Lord, I've got so many things I know. So I have an official Facebook page, and I'm through Anthony will share it with everyone. I'm encouraging folks to follow me on Facebook. I'm not a massive social media user. So my office is pushing me to do more, but we have an official Facebook site we're going to be using for providing information. I'll put information from this meeting on that so folks can follow. So please follow me. It's I think it's District 9 council member or something. I'll send it to Anthony.
It's Denver City Council District 9.
Hallelujah.
And you have 41 followers. So
I have
far.
41.
You're
As of
on
this
your
morning.
way. Yes.
That's massive.
42. You were on your way.
So please follow, and I appreciate it. I'm sorry for taking time of your meeting, but I look forward to seeing you all on the 3rd.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Councilman.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, that was important.
Thank you.
And Fernando, did you?
Yes, I just wanted to just restate something and also share something. The reason is like we are highly versatile. In 24 years that I've been working in the neighborhood, in the area, we have learned that as I think AI, you said like, hey, nobody have knocking my door. It's like, oh, tell us where is it, right? We have gone through the super fun process that probably these guys participated when we had to replace the land, and there was a very famous sign that people start buying that says, if you can read this, I had you in my shotgun, right? You. And we didn't knock on those doors, right? So we have people says, one more people knock in my house, I'm gonna release the dogs or call the police.
And they have done that.
Yeah, and we understand that they will release the chihuahuas, right? So I think in saying that with no disrespect, but we also know that there is sometimes sentiments and issues that people really want to get involved and they don't. So the mailing, I think it's about 7,500 more homes that you mailed, probably 8,000 if you put Swansea, Elyria, and Global together, number of households. So we're not even close, of course, to be able to door knock on all of those homes. But if we sit down at some point, say, hey, don't forget this area, we're gonna be doing this in this area. It's like, oh, like, and sometimes example, like, if we're gonna go to your event, but you say like, I have a cover, I have all the information from Anthony, you don't need to come. And when you mentioned there's 2 events in the same day, it's impossible for us to be everywhere, right? But if you say, I have that covered, right? So you go to the other one. Thank you, because we have staff, we have people, we have volunteers, but we cannot cover all the events, but we will love to be everywhere. So our versatility, our audacity, capacity, collaboratively, please just let us know what's the best way. Sometimes things don't work. We suffer from the same thing of the council. People say like, well, you don't have that many followers in Facebook. It's like, because people don't use that much, they really like calling or so. They are multiple things. We have great partnerships with some of our colleagues. Some of them, they're kind of forced to do it. But as we know that, hey, the focus points database is great, and the grow house was very active before, now too much. Now everybody's following Sandra, now tomorrow everybody's following somebody else. So we try to use respectfully the official, unofficial people of influence in the community. So please just direct us to it, and we don't mind the pulling of the ear or saying like, hey, I want you to do more of that. You forgot this, you should go to this pot shop, this bar. You know, there is a lot of people from the neighborhood. We go and respectfully say, this is happening, you may know somebody, and please let us know.
And you didn't just point to me for the pot shop because you're assuming, right?
No, I'm not just, you know, you were like, you were looking at me. You know.
I'm pulling your leg.
Sarah's not looking at me, you know, so I have to find an audience.
Okay, AE, did you have another comment or you just had your hand up from the last time? I think this must be from the last time. So, any more comments? This has been a really rich discussion. I think what we're learning is that as a collective, we're more powerful in getting information out than any one individual group or organization can do. So, I think continuing to use the CAC not only as an advisory group to the authority, but also as an opportunity to share information and collaborate, and which was part of the values that you identified way last year in terms of that collaboration, helping to working together to solve many of the issues that are in the community. And certainly the authority is committed to being one of those partners.
I just want to mention something with the task. So I know sometimes it's tiring or something, seeing the same faces from the community, but also like you see AE, Angela, myself, and probably most of the meetings, but we already know what the community wants. I mean, we can be that voice also. I mean, it's not like we don't matter because we are in every meeting. No, we do matter because we know what our neighbors want also. And we can say, we've been asking for sidewalks. We've been asking for community spaces. So it's not, I think that also counts a lot, that it probably is the same residents all the time, but we know.
But you're
our
all talking
neighborhoods.
to a lot of other people.
Yeah, we always talking to our neighbors.
And this thing is unheard of, Bernard. He will have these things, you know, like before people just put whatever they want to put. Now there's a list, you know, that never happened before in my view here in the neighborhood, you know?
So I'm gonna remind everybody of the two meetings that are coming up. Once again, there's been a lot of communications around it, but it's August 2nd in Globeville at Globe Hall. And August 3rd is gonna be Elyria Swansea at Johnson Rec Center. A lot of tools were used to get the information out. I hope you all will share the information as well. If we can increase the number of people, now that we've gone through the first set and there's been sort of a roll up of that, we know what the general tone is. We want to get more information around those project specific ideas, and that will be the purpose of those two meetings coming up next week already.
Yes.
It's August.
So fast.
I know.
When you guys first announced that, I was like, oh, that's gonna be in forever.
When we
No,
were
it's-
planning it in June, and then it was like, oh, that's in August, and then it's like, it's next week, and we're, oh my gosh, like, wow.
I know. Any other, yes, Mike.
Hi, thanks. You know, Nwca historically has had presence here. We had stepped back for a while. We're stepping back into this space, and I just want to put out that whatever we can do to be helpful in these conversations as a liaison with the city. I mean, as the mayor's office, we've got a fairly prescribed job to do to finish out phases 1 and 2. But to the extent that we can be a voice back to Dottie about sidewalks, that we can make some of these connections within the city, that's what we're here to do. So let us know how we can be helpful to you in this group, and we will do everything in our power to continue to advocate for these neighborhoods in this project.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? Well, thank you very much for being here tonight. We'll give you about 6 minutes back from the meeting, and we cleared the skies, so you don't have to go out in the rain. And I hope you have the rest of your evening is very enjoyable. I hope it's cooler outside as you exit the building. So thank you again for being here. Thank you to everybody on Zoom for being present, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks,
Good night.
everybody. Good, everybody. Caroline.
That's funny. Jokes aside, it might be a good idea. Seems like that's today. How's it?